Greetings and welcome to Life's Balance with Shaman M. Tonight we are going to talk about the Ayurvedic results of the body type test. We have discussed that before, but we went more into the Vata. So tonight we'll go more into the Pitta, still going back and forth into the Vata and the Kapha. Again, the way we always start out the show is to talk about the language that we are using. Tonight I want to touch on the language that you're using with your children. The greatest way to tell what is going on with yourself is to have little mirrors running around, and your children tend to do that, whether they be young or whether they be teenagers or whether they be old. You can see the reflection of what your behavior is in them or what your behavior has been in them. A wise person once said to me, "There is something in that person's behavior that I don't like in myself." I think that that is one of the most profound things that I've ever heard. When you talk about mirroring and children and the honesty that they have, they will actually, they will actually be right in your face about something that you don't care for. So if that is happening, if you see that, remember positive action, positive affirmation, positive results. So along those lines tonight, I talk a lot about the Ashtanga yoga, which I practice. So that's my lifestyle. And I wanted to introduce to you what Ashtanga is. Ashtanga means 8. So 8, it's the 8 limbs of yoga. So the introduction to Ashtanga yoga. In Sanskrit, Ashtanga or Anga, and Ashta means 8. 8 limbs of yoga or the path. The 8 Ashtanga yoga is based on yoga philosophy of Patanjali. The asanas, pranayamas, or the dharana, which are meditations, breath, which have studied earlier in the yam and the niyama. And I will discuss these. The 8 limbs, the way they work is you start with your environment and yourself, okay? And they are disciplines. And when I talk about disciplines, I mean it is a practice discipline. You have to practice at everything that you do. You either practice at a good thing or you practice at a not so good thing. So any habits, quote unquote, that we form is a repeat. That is a practice. So Ashtanga is about 5,000 years old. It's a Vedic philosophy. And the first is yama. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of yama niyama, but yama is the principle or moral code. It is nonviolence. It is about your social. It is how you interact with the laws of your society. Nonviolence, truthfulness, non-stealing, continence or celibacy. Now, that is if you go to the complete strict. Those have been kind of leeway back and forth on more of a cleanliness basis if you're going to, of course, because we still procreate. And a principle of non-hoarding or non-possessiveness. That's your yama. Your niyama is personal disciplines. So you have purity, contentment, endurance, self-study, and dedication. The self-study and the dedication. That, believe it or not, is a very nurturing quality. By nurturing, I mean when you practice something and it is good for you and you are nurturing yourself, then it brings up your self-esteem. There is always a domino effect. If you are practicing something that feels good, like something that's not so good for you, like participating in an event that makes you feel lower or not so good, or eating something that makes you feel not so good, or gossiping, all those things, the instant gratification of them may be fun or may make you feel good, but the outcome karmically and to yourself and your non-conscious mind is detrimental. So even though you may not be aware of what it's doing something to you. It's doing something to your emotional body. It's doing something to your physical body also. If you have an ailment that you constantly is bothering you, if you have an upper respiratory disease, if you have lower back problems, if you have a constant ache in your joints, all of that is something that you're reinforcing. There's an emotional lock in there, whether you know it that you're doing it or not. That energy has come in with you, okay, and it has been developed in you. The third is the asana, which is the actual yoga pose. Okay? That's position a stable and comfortable posture which helps attain mental equilibrium. It is a pose. By asana and yoga, pose is stop. That is stop and hold it. You actually get into a pose. Yoga is not the jumping around. Yoga is not getting into it or getting out of it. Yoga is holding it. It is about the equilibrium of it. And it's usually to be held between 15 seconds to 3 hours. A master can hold a pose for 3 hours. They are a master of that yoga pose. The next one, the fourth one, is the pranayama, which is the yoga breathing. Okay? That's the extension and control of the breath. That goes into many different types of breathing. It's not just your lungs, it's how you bellow, it's the fire breath down below, it's opening up your kundalini, it's doing the hatha yoga, which is cleansing. It can cleanse up into your nostrils, it can cleanse up into your head. Again, a variety of breathing techniques. The dharana is where you start your, I missed the pratyahara. Let's go there. The pratyahara is the connection between the yama and the niyama, okay, and the asana, this part. And then you have your meditations over here. Okay, in order to get over to here in your meditations, you have to practice these with a discipline first. The discipline and the connection is called the pratyahara. That's the concentration. Okay? It's also where you withdraw the senses. Because we are sensory beings, that tends to be more difficult. And let me rephrase that so that our language is good here. That may be more challenging to you. Then you get into the dharana, which is the concentration on the object. That's the first step in meditation. The second is the dharana. That's where you actually get into the meditation. Withdrawing the mind and focusing on one point. Now you have drawn your senses to do that. So now something like your third eye is open, and you're not allowing any of the outside senses to come in. You're drawing inside. So even if it's cold outside, you're not paying attention to that. None of your senses are open. When you master that, which is a practice, then you hit the last stage, which is samadhi. That is when you can actually physically, mentally, energetically step away from your physical body. So I wanted to let you know those steps in Ashtanga, because I talk about Ashtanga all the time, and that's where the Ayurveda is. The Ayurveda is on the opposite side of the coin of the Ashtanga Yoga. So back into the Pitta. The Pitta Prakruti is based, of course, on fire. Is Pitta's element, which is down here in the root chakra. They're very intelligent people. They have good memory. They have good endurance. But their stress endurance is not so good. So they are very outspoken, strict, and disciplined type, where the Kapha is very laid back, and the Vata is more anxiety. They are brave and aggressive. They're fire. Remember that. They're non-tolerant of injustice, false behavior. So they tend to, I say they tend to compare heavily. And most people would call that judgment. But yes, their comparison is very strict. It's very precise in a way that is perfection based. They follow the rules and regulations very strictly. They have a natural liking towards perfumes, decent clothes, and other luxuries. So a lot of people, Pitta people will be, like I said, I am a Vata Kapha, but my Pitta, because my Vata Kapha is very balanced, and I have a good balance between the three of them, you'll see that I wear a lot of the jewelries, and I like different perfumes and a nice style of clothes. That's very Pitta based. That's how one of the things that I bring in with my Pitta, with the fire of it. The drawbacks of Pitta is they're too perfectionists. And they expect not only that of others, but they expect that of themselves too. So they become hypercritical of themselves, which causes them stomach issues, digestive issues. And it causes them to be very harsh and curt with their language. So when they don't get or when they don't, I shouldn't say when they don't get what they want. When something happens in their environment and it's not perfect for what they have asked or ordered or paid for, you will definitely hear about it in a way that may cut you right in half. They tend to criticize with their speech, harsh and curt. They don't tolerate disagreement very easily, which is interesting. They'll cut you, or they'll cut the incident, and then they'll run away because they don't like confrontation. So that's very much a Pitta sign. If you're going to get right back in their face, they'll be like, "Oh no," and they'll actually physically just, you can see them. You can see that their physical just goes, and they'll completely tune out. They will not hear you. If this is a total Pitta dominant person and they are right in their Pitta-ness, so part of, and I will give on how we get, how you work through that. They tend to overreact. They tend to find it difficult to do physical work due to lower stress endurance. Now, I've seen people go back and forth on that, on the Pitta. They like to get their fire up and they like to do a lot of physical work for a short duration. But yes, then they have to rest. So Pitta people will tend to take a nap in the afternoon or take a nap after they get through working out. And they have to have that time to do that or they can't concentrate. They won't be able to finish their day unless and they'll become stressed and everything around them will become stressed. So the strengths they are extremely very precise and they like to be punctual. So Pitta people are other like Kapha people who you can count on a Kapha to being between 10 to half an hour late. Vadas are usually 5 minutes on either side. Pitta people, they're usually 15 minutes early. So if you when you have a business or you have a corporation or something like that, that's an awesome thing to do, to get a Pitta in there. They speak precisely and articulate. They have a beautiful way of putting together words when they write, when they do like even complex things like contracts and stuff like that. They can word them so that it's very eloquent. They are very eloquent people when they do speak anyway. So to minimize the drawbacks, one of the things to keep a Pitta from being irritable is to make sure they get food every 2 hours. They have to eat something every 2 hours. Not a lot, but they have to have something every couple of hours. And when I say something, I mean something that's like a protein and not a sugar. If you're going to have a sugar, then it needs to be offset with a protein, a complex carb, or a dairy. Okay? If you give a Pitta a sugar every 2 hours, all they're going to do is zip up and then slam back down, and they'll have to have a nap within a 45-minute period. So, again, for a Pitta, eat every 2 hours, but watch what you eat. Make sure that it keeps your system in balance. Taking a bath twice a day also helps a Pitta, because the water soothes them. They're fire. So when they get all heated up, the water helps soothe them. And most Pittas I knew, no, they do. They'll shower in the morning, they'll shower at night. Try to communicate with feelings afterwards instead of reacting immediately sharply. That is one of the things that I tell all three doshas. Is that if you have a situation where you're stepping into that you don't like, or somebody has confronted you, automatically take a step back. And practice and train yourself that when you take that step back, your emotions are right here. So that you can logically shift in your brain and look at the situation logically. Step outside and see the bigger picture of what's going on, so that you can participate in a solution, not the problem. We all react. We all react. We are emotional beings. That's what we do. Instantly we react. It's whether we choose to stay in that emotional or step outside of that emotional that makes the big difference in solving the problem. Okay? Another thing that the Pittas do is wear ornaments. Okay, the jewelry, the stones, the silver, all have a frequency. For Pittas, it all has a frequency. Pearls seem to be the greatest thing, the greatest frequency to calm Pittas, because it is of the water. It is of emotion, and it is calming for Pittas to wear pearls. I know guys that are Pittas that this works for them, so instead of wearing pearls, they keep pearls in their pockets. They wander around with freshwater pearls and they stick them in their pockets. So it helps. It helps with developing, and that's what you're doing. You're developing a new situation to your dosha, and you're introducing and bringing in the vata or the kapha. Okay, depending on what you need. Pitta and kapha. You've got a fire sign and a water sign that are very much complementary to each other. The doctors that I'm writing my book with, the Indian doctors, are the husband is a kapha, the wife is a pitta. So they complement each other very well because they both know what each other's doshas are doing. She drags him around and makes sure he's on time, and he keeps her calm. And it's fun to watch. And they do marriage counseling. And part of the marriage counseling is to find out the doshas. And to tell the couple, okay, this is how you're going to play out with each other, so that the couple can decide if that's the way they want to do it or not. So it's fascinating. It's fascinating to watch when you start bringing in your doshas, how things work and how they play with each other. Back on the Pitta, if you feel exhausted, irritated, or unable to concentrate, have a glass of milk or a piece of sweet. Again, that to me would be together. Okay? It is balancing. So you're not taking that sweet and zipping yourself up and then slamming yourself back down. But sweet to a Pitta, sweet to anybody, is an emotion. It's your joy. It's your pancreas. That's what it's attached to. So if you have a craving for sweets, you are trying to find your joy in your life. When other people start noticing what you're doing with your eating, and they start saying something, they're noticing that your moods are doing this number. So when you're eating sweets, and only sweets, you're doing this and then slamming down. You're doing this and slamming down. This is what your emotions are doing too. So you're happy, and then you're either tired or sad, or you're irritable. You do that long enough, then you start to get irritable, and you start to do it over and over and over again. So finding your joy is not exactly on sweets only. You can do this by introducing your favorite hobby. If you have something that you love to do, that can also replace that emotion. Again, it's a practice. Now that doesn't say, now I'm not saying take your favorite hobby and add a candy bar with it. That's not the idea. The idea is to not do the sweet thing so much. Okay? But for Pitta, if there's nothing else, a sweet and a glass of milk, or a sweet and a protein, something like that, will calm them, because they will get uncontrollable. These are the type of people that will panic on a train, on a plane, and you won't be able to get them calmed down unless you feed them something to calm them down. It's fascinating to watch all this behavior. They're also hot. They're fire, so they should avoid directly hot foods, the direct sunshine, anything that would heat them up instantly. These are the type of people that, that's funny that just kicked into my head. These are the type of people that would not like a seat warmer in the car. These are the type of people that you may have your house at 68 degrees, they'll have it at 60. Okay? They are constantly warm. So heating them up, it aggravates them. If you have them in a room with no air conditioning, that's not a good thing for a Pitta. They will be irritable if they have to sit through it. Okay? Where you get a vata, as a vata, I like it warm. And kapha, they really don't care. They'll be all right, They're just kind of easygoing people. So, drink plenty of fluids. Dehydration is also one of the things for a Pitta. Maintain the body at a good rate is what you want. So, cool humid foods. They like cool foods. They don't like hot teas. They'd rather have cold teas. Fresh hot meals, warm meals. They like sweets. Again, if they're going to have sweets, make sure that when I cook Ayurvedically, I cook layers. And what I mean by layers is I will serve you a sweet berry with a cream on the bottom. I will serve you your vegetables, and then I will serve you your nuts and your greens on top. So when I serve in layers. So Ayurvedically, it's hitting all of the senses. So what you're trying to do constantly is bring in a balance between the three of them, between the three doshas. We all have our dominant, our second dominant, and then our third. It is balancing the first two. Again, the test is, I verbally did the test on my website, lifesbalance.org. It is posted. It is posted on my Facebook page. It is posted on YouTube under Shaman M. There are 3 places you can go. All you have to do is have a piece of paper and a pencil, and you can take the test, okay? Once you do this, the idea is to take the top two, okay? Whether you're a Vata Pitta or Pitta Vata, Vata Kapha, take the top 2 and balance those, and it will bring in your third dosha. You can do this on several ways, okay? And start by you, your environment, and your diet. All right? That's the 3 ways to do that. We will touch more on the kapha one more the next time we get together. When you go through these, and I know that you will, piece back and forth through, remember to do this for you the way you are right now. It will change as you go through and you practice, okay? Again, thank you. Have a wonderful week. May peace and balance be yours. Blessings.